Our story begins on a small, precious world, a world we called Earth. For millennia, it was our only home in the vast, dark ocean of space. We looked up at the stars and wondered. We were born from stardust and the cosmos called to us, but our cradle, our beautiful blue marble, was growing tired. The air grew thin, the waters rose, and the once green lands faded to brown. We had asked too much of our home, we had taken without thinking, and the time came when Earth could no longer sustain our ever-growing family. It was a difficult choice, a heartbreaking farewell. Leaving Earth was the greatest challenge humanity had ever faced. It meant saying goodbye to everything we had ever known. We were leaving behind the familiar skies, the scent of rain on soil, and the graves of our ancestors. The decision was not made lightly. It was born from necessity, a final, desperate act of survival. We had looked to the stars for answers, and they offered us a chance. A distant world, orbiting a new sun, promised a fresh start. It was a gamble of cosmic proportions, but it was our only hope. To stay was to fade away with our planet. To go was to embrace the unknown. The day of departure arrived. A single colossal ship, the Odyssey, stood ready. It was a monument to human ingenuity and a vessel of our collective dreams. Millions watched as the first voyagers boarded, carrying with them not just supplies, but the seeds of a new civilization. They carried the music, the art, the stories, and the scientific knowledge of Earth. They were a living library, an ark sailing not on water, but on the endless sea of space-time. As the engines ignited, they felt the rumble of a future being born, a promise whispered across the void. Looking back, they saw Earth shrink. It became a tiny, fragile jewel suspended in the blackness, a swirl of blue, white, and green, a single tear in the cosmic eye. From this distance, you couldn't see the borders we had fought over. You couldn't see the divisions that had separated us. You saw only one world, one human home. And as it disappeared from view, the travelers knew their mission. They were not just saving themselves. They were carrying the legacy of Earth forward, ensuring that the story of humanity would not end there. The journey had just begun. Life aboard the Odyssey was a world of its own, a carefully designed ecosystem traveling through the void. The ship was vast, a self-contained biosphere built to sustain generations. Huge, transparent domes arched overhead, displaying the magnificent, unblinking stars of deep space. Below, parks and gardens flourished under artificial suns, recreating the landscapes of a world left far behind. Children were born on this ship who had never felt real wind or stood on solid ground. For them, the hum of the life support systems was a lullaby, and the star-dusted blackness outside was their sky. The travelers carried a mix of hope and melancholy in their hearts. They were pioneers, explorers charting a course into the ultimate frontier. This knowledge filled them with a profound sense of purpose. Yet, a deep-seated nostalgia, a longing for Earth, was a constant companion. They would gather in communal halls to watch old films of oceans and forests, their faces illuminated by the glow of a world they might never see again. They shared stories of their grandparents, of climbing trees and swimming in lakes, trying to keep the memory of their origins alive for the next generation. Daily routines were essential for maintaining both physical and mental well-being on such a long voyage. Days were structured with work, education, and recreation. Crew members tended to the hydroponic farms that provided fresh food. Engineers monitored the ship's complex systems, and scientists studied the cosmos unfolding around them. Children attended schools where they learned about their destination, Proxima Centauri b, but also about the history and culture of Earth. It was a delicate balance, preparing for the future while honoring the past that made it all possible. In the quiet moments, people would press their hands against the cool, thick glass of the observation decks. They would stare out at the nebulae, painting the darkness with impossible colors. They were adrift in an immense emptiness, a tiny, warm spark of life in the cold expanse. This perspective changed them. The old quarrels and petty concerns of Earth seemed so distant, so small. On the Odyssey, there were no nations, only humanity. They were united by a shared destiny, a single vital mission to reach their new home and begin again. The journey to Proxima Centauri b was made possible by technology that was once the stuff of science fiction. The heart of the Odyssey was its revolutionary engine. It was not a conventional rocket-burning chemical fuel. Instead, it was an Alcubierre drive, a machine that could warp the very fabric of space-time. It didn't propel the ship through space, it moved space around the ship. By compressing space-time in front of it and expanding it behind, the Odyssey could travel at effective speeds far greater than light, turning a journey of thousands of years into one that could be completed within a human lifetime. Powering such a magnificent machine required an equally awesome energy source. The ship's core housed a contained microsingularity, a tiny, man-made black hole. Matter was carefully fed into its accretion disk, releasing immense amounts of energy in a controlled and predictable way. This energy powered everything on the ship, from the space-time drive to the artificial suns in the biodomes and the life support systems that recycled every breath of air and every drop of water. The singularity was both the engine of their journey and the beating heart of their mobile world. Guiding the ship through the interstellar medium was a sophisticated artificial intelligence. This AI, named Cosmos, was more than just a navigation system. It was a partner to the human crew. It processed trillions of calculations per second, plotting the safest and most efficient route through fields of cosmic dust and gravitational anomalies. Cosmos also managed the ship's internal environment, ensuring the delicate balance of the ecosystem was maintained. It was the silent, vigilant guardian of everyone on board, a mind of pure logic dedicated to the survival of the human species. Beyond propulsion and navigation, technology permeated every aspect of life. Advanced medical bays could regenerate tissue and cure diseases that were once fatal. Food was grown in vertical hydroponic farms that maximized space and resources, yielding nutritious crops with astonishing efficiency. Virtual reality systems allowed travelers to walk the streets of Paris or hike the Himalayas, keeping their connection to Earth's heritage alive. This fusion of biology and technology was the key to survival, a testament to human intellect and our unyielding drive to overcome the impossible. After decades of travel through the silent darkness, the moment of arrival came. The announcement echoed through the ship. "We are here." Proxima Centauri b filled the main view screen. It was a world bathed in the soft reddish light of its star. From orbit, it was a breathtaking sight of deep crimson oceans, ochre continents, and swirling purple-tinged clouds. It was alien, yet in its form. The familiar sphere of a planet, it was also a welcome sight. Cheers and tears filled the halls of the Odyssey. The long winter of their journey was over. A new spring was about to begin. The first landing craft descended through the unfamiliar atmosphere. The travelers watched with breathless anticipation as the first images were sent back. The landscape was unlike anything on Earth. Towering crystalline flora pulsed with a faint internal light. The ground was covered in a soft moss-like vegetation that shimmered in shades of blue and violet. The air carried a strange, sweet scent, the smell of life, but a new kind of life. The gravity was slightly stronger, a gentle but constant reminder that this was not Earth. It was a world of wonders waiting to be explored. When the first humans stepped onto the surface of Proxima Centauri b, it was a moment that transcended time. The astronaut knelt and placed a gloved hand on the alien soil. It was a gesture of peace, of gratitude, and of promise. They were no longer just travelers, they were settlers. They were the first roots of humanity in a new garden. The reddish sun cast long shadows as the crew began to set up the first settlement, a small outpost of hope on the edge of a vast, unknown continent. The feeling was not one of conquest, but of humility. As they looked up at the sky, they saw a familiar yet different pattern of stars. And somewhere in that sky, invisible to the naked eye, was a pale yellow dot. Sol, the star that warmed their ancestral home. They had done it. They had crossed the great ocean between stars and brought the spark of human consciousness to another world. This was not the end of humanity's story, but the beginning of a new, grander chapter. Here, under a new sun, their children and their children's children would build a future, carrying the memory of Earth in their hearts as they reached for the stars once more